X-Men Apocalypse was a movie I wasn't really looking forward to. I did watch all the other X movies, and I am starting to get into the comics, but because of the history, and the stained history at that, of the X-Men franchise, mainly the third and some of the other quote-unquote Origins movies, aka Wolverines and all those, they were going downhill from there. But after X-Men First Class and Days of Future Past, everything seems to be stabilizing and starting to go uphill, if a tad slowly, let's say. So anyway, X-Men Apocalypse thoroughly satisfied me as a new reader as a new reader of the comics, and as someone that grew up watching the 80s/90s TV show, the X-Men, with the iconic music and all the intros for all the characters and everything. So what did I think of the movie? It was definitely, I wasn't expecting it. It definitely felt like I was watching a very long episode of the original animated series, which is something that was definitely a good thing, because all of the episodes in the original series were solid. They had a story, they had a beginning, an ending, a middle part, they had a climax. Depending on how high it was, it might have been very action oriented or very character development. And in terms of X-Men Apocalypse, the movie, I can say that the climax is more of character development instead of over-the-top action scenes like some of the others tried. Another good thing, for me at least, is that the focus is on character development and not on showing off as many mutant superpowers as possible. We do get quite a showcase. For example, Quicksilver does his thing again, and it's definitely enjoyable. Everybody was smiling and enjoying it during the scene anyway. Let's see, Jean Grey definitely puts on her big girl pants and pulls her weight in this movie. I can't say anything more, but without spoiling it, definitely, but she's definitely a key character in the series now. Storm was actually a surprise. I thought she was going to be part of the X-Men. Turns out she, as you can see by the poster there, she is wearing a different outfit to everybody else. And if you compare her to all the people in the background, you can obviously discern that she is not part of the X-Men at the moment. Psylocke, because of her position in the poster, I was expecting her to be part of the X-Men or kind of a neutral party-ish. Turns out she is not a neutral party, but she definitely shows off what she can do. It's not over-the-top action like we would expect from the comic books, like flipping all over the place and launching psi daggers and everything. She does show off her psionic sword, and she does cut a huge block of something in half. I think it's a car, you can see it in the trailer. But she is definitely an interesting character that they leave open for further development. Cyclops there in the background. He also gets quite a bit of character development because with all the other X-Men movies, we get a past story, or this is what happened not too long ago for some of the characters. Now, Magneto is starting to look like the Magneto everybody knows from the comic books. They are adding some flair to his armor in order to make it not so boring, because the one in the comics was just like plain red, very little detail, and not much going on there. It would have been a little on the boring side. Nightcrawler, Kurt Wagner there, he definitely pulls his weight yet again as the teleporter. Although they do up his power a little bit, because he said in the original X-Men movies, he says that he can only see places that he can see or that he knows very well. Here he can actually teleport. He keeps that limitation, but he does push it a little over where he can teleport to places he's not that familiar with. So, but it definitely works out, and he isn't as overpowered as a Quicksilver down there. And Professor X right there, as you can see in the poster, during this movie, he finally becomes the professor we know from just about every other media involving the X-Men. This is the professor I know, the one I grew up with, the bald, powerful psychic. Yeah, powerful psychic, motorized wheelchair. He is definitely the part that I wish I would have seen more of. I mean, what was his name? I can't remember his name. The one that did the Professor X before, what was his name? I'm going to hate myself. But anyway, so yeah. Oh, and Archangel, as he's in the background, he's pretty minor, probably on the same scale as Scott right there. And lastly, Apocalypse, he does look weird. We all agree on this. He does not look like the Apocalypse from the TV series or the comics or anything of the sort. But in the end, it does work. I'm not saying he looks good, I'm just saying in terms of the movie context, it definitely works. Now, in terms of everything else, the story is a little more slower paced, although suddenly things start happening, and you're not left wondering what is going on. You know exactly what is happening, but they're happening a lot faster than we are used to in other X-Men movies, and it's a good thing because this forces the X-Men into a situation where they need to act or literally the world ends. Also, on that regard, here we finally get to see why Magneto is considered one of the most powerful mutants in all of the Marvel Universe, if not among the most powerful. I can't say anymore, but if you're a fan of Magneto and you've read the comics, you know how powerful he can be, and you will get to see a small amount of that in this movie. So it's definitely worth seeing it for that alone. Now, there are two things that definitely bought me as a fan of certain X-Men during this movie. One is absolutely obvious. It's something we've come to expect from every single X-Men movie. I can't say anymore because it wasn't so completely shown in the trailers, but it's definitely something that is very close to the comics, but they did modify it a little bit so it would fit within the movie. And finally, the after credits scene, I was jumping with joy when I saw that scene. It's nothing big. You don't get to see any big stars or anything, but if you know anything about the history of the X-Men and the adventure and the things that happened during the comics, you will understand why that scene is extremely important. And if you're following Hugh Jackman's career and what he has commented on being Wolverine and everything, you should understand what is going on. But yeah, X-Men Apocalypse, definitely a lot better than all of the other, quote, first-class universe X-Men movies. It's definitely a lot better than the first, maybe not the very, very first because that was a different type of movie, but it's definitely better than I expected it to be. It's not super good or everything. It's not mind-blowing. It's definitely, for me, a 7 out of 10, that 5 being the absolutely average. So it's better than most movies, and if you know a lot of the X-Men, you are definitely going to enjoy this movie because you get to see the X-Men that you actually know and behaving like the ones that you know. So in that respect, it's definitely good. And all the little Easter eggs that they threw in there, also worth checking out as a little fan or new or old for the X-Men. So yeah, X-Men Apocalypse, it's definitely worth seeing at least once. I'm not saying it's good. I went with the idea that I would have a decent time enjoying it for whatever it was, and I ended up enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would, especially those two scenes that I mentioned earlier. So yeah, hopefully you find this useful, and I will see you next time.